Hi everyone, I'm Varlakshmi, Assistant Professor in Education, Vellalar College of Education, Erode. Today we are going to see about the quantitative research designs. First, let us see about an introduction to research methods. Research methods are specific procedures for collecting and analyzing data. Developing your research methods is an integral part of your research design. When planning your methods, there are two key designs you will make. First, decide how will you collect data. Your methods depend on what type of data you need to answer your research question. Qualitative or versus quantitative. Will your data take the form of words or numbers, primary versus secondary? Will you collect original data yourself or will you use data that has already been collected by someone else? Then descriptive versus experimental. Will you take measurement of something as it is or will you perform an experiment? Second, decide how will you analyze the data. For quantitative data, you can use statistical analysis method to test relationship between variables. For qualitative data, you can use methods such as thematic analysis to interpret patterns and meanings in the data. Then, research designs. Research designs are the specific procedures involved in the research process, that is, data collection, data analysis, and report writing. Eight research designs frequently used in educational research, that is, qualitative, quantitative, and mixed. In quantitative research, we are having experimental research, correlational research, and survey design. In the qualitative research, grounded theory, ethnographic theory, and narrative design. In mixed research method, we are having mixed method, then action research. Now, let us see about quantitative research designs. Quantitative research design is explaining phenomena by collecting numerical data that are analyzed using mathematical methods. There are types of quantitative research designs. One is experimental design, second one is correlational design, third one is survey design. First, let us see about experimental design. Characteristics of experimental design. Experimental research is defined as observations under controlled conditions. In experimental design, the researcher is an active agent rather than a passive observer. Then, according to Rayleigh, experimental design is a powerful design for testing hypotheses of causal relationship among variables. Experimental research design is further classified as true experimental design, quasi-experimental design, and pre-experimental design. Then, true experimental design. In true experimental designs, the researchers have to complete control over the extraneous variables and can predict confidently that our observed effect on the independent variable is only due to the manipulation of independent variable. Then, essential characteristics. A true experimental design consists of three important characteristics that are as follows. One is manipulation, second one is control, third one is randomization. First, let us see about manipulation. Manipulation refers to the conscious control of the independent variable by the researcher through treatment or intervention to observe its effect on the dependent variable. Independent variable medication, dependent variable pain level. Then control. Control refers to the use of control group and controlling the effects of exogenous variables on the development variable, so dependent variable which the researcher is interested. The subject is the control and experimental group are similar in number and the characteristics, but the subject in the control group do not receive experimental treatment or any intervention. Then randomization. Randomization means that every subject has an equal chance of being assigned to experimental or control group. This is called a random assignment of subjects. The process involves random assignment to different groups. Through random assignment, chances of systematic bias is eliminated. Randomization is used in true experimental design to minimize the threats of internal validity of the study and eliminates the effects of exogenous variables on the dependent variables. Then let us see about types of true experimental design. Post-test only design, pre-test post-test only design, Solomon four-group design, factorial design, then randomized block design. Last one is crossover design. First, let us see about post-test only control design. It composed of two randomly assigned group, experimental and control group. Both the group are not tested previous to the introduction of an intervention. While treatment is implemented on the experimental group only, post-test observation are made on both the groups. Then this design is helpful in situations where it is not possible to pre-test the subject. For example, a study on educational intervention related to contraception among couples. Then post-test only control designs. Random assignment, experimental group, treatment and post-test. Then random assignment, control group and post-test. Pre-test, post-test only design. In this design, subjects are randomly assigned to either the experimental or control group. The effect of the dependent variable on both the groups is seen before the treatment, that is pre-test. Then pre-test, post-test only design. Random assignment, experimental group, pre-test, treatment and post-test. In this random assignment, control group, pre-test and post-test. Then Solomon 4 group design. There are two experimental and two control group 1 and 2, experimental group 1 and 2. Initially, the researcher randomly assigned subjects to the four groups. Solomon group design, that is experimental group for pre-test, treatment, post-test. Then control group 1, pre-test, post-test. Experimental group 2, treatment, post-test. Controlled group 2, directly we are given to post-test. Then factorial design. Here, the researcher manipulates two or more independent variables simultaneously to observe their effects on the dependent variable. This design is particularly useful when there are more than two independent variables to be tested. Then randomized block design. Randomized block design is used when the researcher desires to bring homogeneity among selected groups. This is a simple method to reduce the variability among the treatment groups by a more homogeneous combination of the subjects through randomized block design. Then crossover design. In crossover design, study subjects are exposed to more than one treatment. It is also known as repeat measure design. Then crossover design. Groups, treatment protocol. Group 1, treatment 1, treatment 2, Group 2, treatment 2, treatment 1. Survey method. In survey is used in many fields, including political science, sociology, economics, and education. In education, their most common use is for the collection of data by schools or about schools. Surveys conducted by schools are usually prompted by a need for certain kinds of information related to the instruction, facilities, or student population. A survey research studies large and small populations by selecting and studying samples chosen from the populations to discover the relative incidence, distribution, and interrelations of sociological and psychological variables. Meaning of survey research: an attempt to collect data from members of a population in order to determine the current status of that population with respect to one or more variables. Then definition of survey research: a research study that uses a survey to obtain a description of a particular group of individuals. Frederick J. Crevetter in the year 2009. Then questioning individuals on a topic or topics and then describing their responses. Sherry L. Jackson in the year 2009. Then purposes and uses. The main purpose of survey research is to describe the problem or phenomenon. Many surveys go beyond a mere description of an existing situation. For example, a survey dealing with curriculum courses help us in obtaining information not only about the strength and weakness of the current curriculum but also can elicit recommendations for changes. Then, descriptive studies are helpful in planning various educational programs, school census, etc. The goal of the survey research design is to obtain an accurate picture of the individuals being studied. School surveys are conducted to help solve the problems of various aspects of school, that is, school plans, school maintenance, teaching staff, curriculum, teaching methods, learning objectives, and the like. The survey provides a snapshot of the group at a particular time. Then, characteristics of survey research. It gathers data from relatively large number of cases at a particular time. It is essentially cross-sectional. It is not concerned with the characteristic of individuals. It involves a clearly defined problem. It requires expert imaginative planning. It involves definite objectives. It requires careful analysis and interpretation of data gathered. It requires logical and skillful reporting of the findings. Then surveys vary in complexity. It does not seek to develop an organized body of scientific principles. It provides information useful to the solution of local problems. It contributes to the advancement of knowledge by affording penetrating insight to the nature of what one dealing with. It suggests the course of future development. It determines the present trends and solves current problems. It helps in fashioning many tools with which we do not research. Then, steps of survey research. Formulation and the specification of the research problem, identification of the general and specific objectives of the survey, um, delineation of the sampling and sampling plan, construction of the instrument, data collection, coding, tabulation, and statistical analysis, then interpretation of results. Next, constructing a survey. Once the survey questions are determined, the next step is to organize the questions into coherent survey that the participants can easily understand and complete. Demographic questions such as age, gender, level of education should be placed at the end of the survey. Sensitive questions that may cause embarrassment or discomfort should be placed in the middle of the survey. Questions dealing with the same general topic should be grouped together. Also, questions in the same format should be grouped together. Finally, vocabulary and language style should be easy for participants to understand. A survey with the language appropriate for college students probably could not be appropriate for elementary school students. Then, types of survey. First one is interview. Second one is mail survey, that is computer assisted interviews. Third one is telephone survey. And the fourth one is in-person survey. First, let us see about school survey. The school survey is a comprehensive study of existing conditions to determine the overall effectiveness of the school program and suggest improvement where necessary. It was largely of an inspectional nature. Surveys designed to evaluate the school as a functional unit. Then, nature of school surveys. The school survey is a comprehensive study of existing conditions to determine the overall effectiveness of school program and suggest improvement. Then, Cooper in the year 1946 and Riller in the year 1942. The investigate evaluative or status which studies primarily the existing conditions. The deliberative, developmental or planning survey which is intended primarily to make proposals for development and improvement with a minimum criticism of present circumstances. The implementative survey, which not only makes suggestions for development but attempts to create conditions in the conduct of the survey which will enhance the prospects of actually achieving survey recommendations. Then, according to Good, in the year 1966, aims, outcomes, people achievement, curriculum, method, and instructional aids, administrative problems and procedures of the schools, financial policies and procedures, operation and maintenance of the physical plant, people transportation, staff and personnel, school plan, and related factors. Then, purpose of school surveys. Acquiring information about the characteristic of educational personnel and nature of people is the main purpose of many school surveys. Such surveys may gather information about teacher supervisors and administrators, determining the physical fitness of teachers, their attitude, socio-economic conditions, responsibilities, status, and salaries may be the objective of same survey. Information about the behavior pattern of peoples in classrooms, with peers, at home, and in the community may be sought through the school surveys. Then, some surveys are concerned with the study of the people knowledge, skills, academic achievement, intelligence, aptitudes, work or study habit, health practices, extracurricular activities, and recreational aspects. School survey may also be explored the number of dropouts, the number and type of handicapped or other exceptional studies. School surveys are sometimes conducted to study the educational programs, processes, and outcomes. Some surveys may be concerned with the curriculum, textbook, and other instructional materials. Some surveys may seek information about aspects of social structure in the classroom, home, or community that may influence learning. Then, advantages of survey research. A great deal of information can be obtained from a large population. Information will be more accurate in spite of sampling errors. The greater the number of respondents, higher the level of confidence in results. It generates specific information about the issues concerned. Then, disadvantages of survey research. Survey information does not often penetrate very deeply below the surface. Surveys measures the existing circumstances without inquiring into why it exists. It is demanding of time, money, and expertise. An investigator must know sampling techniques, questionnaire formulation, and be familiar with the statistical technique to analyze and interpret data. The questions may be taken out of content, and there is very little opportunity to clarify and verify the issues. This may render the result irrelevant. Then, correlational designs. In educational research, their objective may be to relate variable rather than manipulate the independent variable as in an experiment. If so, their design is correlational research. Although it is not as rigorous as an experiment, researcher can use it for relating variables or predicting outcomes. This section defines correlational research, identifies when researcher use it, assesses the key characteristics of it, and advances the steps in conducting and evaluating the designs. Then, correlational research. Correlational research provide an opportunity for researcher to predict scores and explain the relationship among variables. In correlational research designs, investigators use the correlation statistical test to describe and measure the degree of association or relationship between two or more variables or set of scores. In this design, the researcher do not attempt to control or manipulate the variables as in an experiment. Instead, they relate using the correlation statistic two or more scores for each person. Then, types of correlational designs. The primary correlation designs are explanation and prediction. First one is explanatory design. Various authors refers to explanatory correlational research as relational research, accounting for variance studies, or explanatory research. Because one basic objective of this form of correlational research is to explain the association between or among variables, we will use the term explanatory research in this discussion. Then, the prediction design. Instead of simply relating variables, two variables at a time, or a complex set, such as in our last example. In a prediction design, researchers seek to anticipate outcomes by using certain variables or predictors. The key characteristics of correlational design. As suggested by the explanatory and the prediction designs, correlation design includes specific characteristics. Displays of scores, that is scatter plots and matrices, association between scores, that is direction, forms, and strength, multiple variable analysis, that is partial correlation, and multiple regression. Thank you. Thank you very much for watching my channel. Thank you very much.